with Jessa. Today, I'm in a little bit of a different location, but that is because I'm going to be doing the makeup and books tag. I was tagging this a while ago from Maya from oceanreads. You should definitely go check her out. I'll have her channel linked down below, but I'm going to be doing that tag. It seemed like a lot of fun. I'm not a big makeup person. I don't really know how to do a lot of fancy things, but this is very simple. Anyone can do it. And even if you don't wear makeup, you can still do it too. I just thought it'd be fun to do mine while I talk about some books relating to the different makeup products I'll be using. Again, you should really not take any kind of makeup advice from me because I'm not good at it. But yeah, let's just get started and jump right into the tag. So the first product I'll be using is primer, which is name a book that left a lasting impression on you. And if you've been around this channel for a while, you know that definitely one book that I can't stop talking about, that I have loved since I read it, that basically I read in a day back in April, and I still can't believe I haven't read the second book, but that is One of Us is Lying by Karen M. McManus. This is a book where the tagline is Pretty Little Liars meets Breakfast Club. 5 people walk into detention and 4 people walk out because one of them has been killed. And so it's basically just following the 4 other students who have now become suspects in this crime and what their role in the crime potentially was, because each of them have a reason to want to kill the student that was killed. I loved this book so much. It was definitely like my favorite book that I had read at the time, and I can't stop thinking about it. And again, I don't know why I haven't continued to read the series. I guess I've just been kind of busy, kind of forgot about the second book in it. But I finished this book at like 5 a.m. on my Kindle, and I'm like, dang, like, I can't believe I finished it this day. I can't tell you the last time I finished like a nice long book like that in a day, and it was so much fun. Okay, next is Foundation, and that is a book that is your favorite first book in a series. For me, I'm gonna have to say that this is Scythe by Neal Shusterman. Granted, I still haven't read The Toll yet, which is the 3rd book in the series, but I did love Thunderhead, which is the 2nd book, but I think I still have to give it to Scythe. Of being my favorite book so far. I heard that The Toll isn't as good as the first 2, so that makes me more confident that Scythe is probably the best one. So this is a book, if you haven't heard of this series by Neal Shusterman, this is where there is no more natural death. You can no longer die due to a car accident or to a disease, and so there's these people called Scythes whose job is it to basically make sure that the population stays low. So their job is to kill off people that they determine. Every Scythe is different of who gets to live and who gets to die. So it's determined by them, because you still have to keep the population under control, because if no one can die, that still means that people are being born, and we can't, there's only a certain amount of resources that the earth can handle, certain carrying capacity, and that's the job of these Scythes. So the main story follows these 2 characters, Citra and Rowan, and their job, well, it's not really a job, they actually become Scythe apprentices. They join this apprenticeship with one Scythe, and it's just their journey into the world. It definitely makes you look at things like who gets to live and who gets to die in a different way, especially when each Scythe can determine who is basically able to live and die. Like, it's just whatever they want to do, and you learn that there is even corruption within that. And so it was a really fascinating book, and like I said, I did love Thunderhead as well, and I can't wait to read The Toll. And then I have Concealer, and for that it's going to be name a character that you wish didn't exist, and I'm going to do Professor Umbridge from Harry Potter and Order of the Phoenix, because everyone knows that Umbridge is the real villain of the series, not Voldemort. She's the worst kind of person, and that is because she's just so relatable. Anyone could have had a teacher like Umbridge. She is just someone who is in your real world that, like, is so crazy and so for the government, and even with wrong ideas, and that they don't want to even, like, it's just, they don't believe in anything that's going on, and they're just following the rules instead of, actually teaching students what they need to know. They just kind of do what they're told to do. It's definitely one of those moments where, like, who the bad guy is. Like, the bad guy is coming back to life. That's the whole point of the 5th book. But then you get this person that just turns out to be so much worse than the villain. And yes, the villain is still bad. She's just such a relatable character, and I think that's why so many people love to hate her, is because it's someone we all know in our life, or have had in our life. Maybe not as a teacher, but maybe as just someone in a position of authority. And it's just such a relatable fear to have, such a relatable hate to have. And it's amazing how much one simply just kind of boring character, in a way of like she doesn't really do anything outstanding, can just be so hated by so many people. Next we have Powder, and that is going to be the favorite last book in a series. And for this, I'm going to do Supernova by Marissa Meyer. I absolutely loved the Renegade series. I do think it could have been done in 2 books, whereas I did like Arch Enemies, but at some points I felt like it was just a little too much. I didn't really know like what the point of some of the things that were happening were. I think it was to build on the relationship between the 2 characters, but like I don't know, it wasn't really needed in my point. But I love the way that everything wrapped up in Supernova, and I can't wait to read that series again. I loved it so much. So for those of you who don't know, the Renegade series is about superheroes. People are either born with, or they have specific like quirks. Well, that's from My Hero Academia, that's the specific word, but they're born with powers, or they have gained powers through some kind of traumatic experience, and it's a whole big thing on whether or not people should trust superheroes. Should they put all of their trust in them, or should they just still kind of go on and live their lives and just have the superheroes there to help them if they need something that they can't handle, because people start to rely on them more than they probably should. And so it's about like who deserves to have powers, who doesn't deserve to have powers, how much faith should you put in people, how much should they even be around anymore, should the people of their world even trust them, or can we just like live on with our lives and maybe get rid of everyone's powers? It's a big question on that, and I really did like that. Again, it was kind of like Scythe, where it's like who lives and who dies. It's kind of up to the people in charge, where it really shouldn't be, because these are people too. Whether they were good guys or bad guys shouldn't really determine whether or not they get to live or die. And so I really did like this series too. It is 3 books by Marissa Meyer, who I've really come to love this year. I haven't read anything by her before, but I read that series. I started reading the Lunar Chronicles, and I've really come to love Marissa Meyer. Next is Blush, and for that is going to be a cringeworthy romance, and of course I had to give it to the cringiest romance of all, Twilight by Stephenie Meyer. I mean, I love to hate this book. I started rereading the first 2 this year, and I forgot how ridiculous this was, and it made me laugh just because of the ridiculousness of it. And of course, it's a cringy romance. Like, it is. It is. We are just going to leave it at that. Whether you love it or not, I think you have to admit that it is a cringy romance. If you haven't heard of Twilight and don't know what it's about, it follows the story of Bella Swan, who has recently moved to live with her dad in Forks, Washington. And she meets this family of vampires and starts falling in love with one of them, Edward Cullen. And it's just a 4-part series, on their romance and what goes down, and just, a love triangle at one point between her, a werewolf, and a vampire. So, it's basically the definition of cringe, but it's an enjoyable series. It was something that I grew up with in like middle school, is when it came out. Around 6th, 7th grade is when it got popular, because that's when the movies were coming out. It does star Robert Pattinson and Kristen Stewart, who have gone on to have really great movie careers, but everyone likes to fault them for being in Twilight. But like, yeah, it kind of helped their careers, but like they've done amazing stuff after that. And so we need to forget that, or just recognize that they've done other stuff besides Twilight. Next is Highlighter, and for that it's going to be a book that just brightens up your day, and for me personally that is Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. This is the special like Hufflepuff edition book. It's super cool. I love this book. This is one of my favorites. My favorite is probably Half-Blood Prince, but I love Chamber of Secrets. I think it's dives more into the scariness of what is going to be in the Harry Potter series. I think that it's just a lot of fun to see what's going on in the school, learn more about the history of Tom Riddle, of the Horcruxes, and things like that. And so this is one that I will always turn to brighten up my day. I know some people have said that it's basically just Sorcerer's Stone or Philosopher's Stone repeated again, which I can see what they mean. You know, they kind of like have a fun, whimsical year at the beginning, and then, you know, they solve the big issue with Voldemort at the end, but I still love it. I think that it has a lot of potential. I think that it's a lot of fun, and I love the history aspect of it, and I think that's why I love Half-Blood Prince so much, is because I love learning the history of Voldemort and why he is, who Tom Riddle was, and everything like that. And so that's why I really enjoy the story as well. Next, we have Eyebrows, and for that, it's going to be a book that everyone should read, and I'm going to be very basic and say Becoming by Michelle Obama. I got this book because, you know, it was Michelle Obama's book, and I'm like, you know what, I should check it out. Like, it's probably pretty good, and I did really enjoy it. I think it was an interesting perspective because you hear so much about the president and what they do during their term, but I've never really heard much about much of the second ladies, or first ladies, excuse me. They do so much too, because I think they're all supposed to have like a project that they're passionate about, and for Michelle Obama, that was the Let's Move movement. But you never really see someone, especially as popular as Michelle Obama. I feel like I haven't really heard much. I can't even name one other like first lady, like maybe Barbara Bush, Hillary Clinton, obviously. But for most of them, I can't really tell you anyone. So it was just really interesting to see her story and how she, in some ways, is even more popular than Obama, and just where she grew up, how she grew up, and just her life journey. I just love reading about, like, celebrities, like, life journeys, just to see, like, where they started from and where they are today. And that goes with, like, anyone, whether it's an actress, a singer, a politician, or someone like that. I just think it's very fascinating, and so I love picking up books like that. Next is Eyeliner, and for this, you're going to pick a dark and mysterious book, and I'm going to pick Tokyo Ghoul. This is a horror manga that I was recommended to by Steph from Coffee Over Apples. I'll also have her channel linked down below, because this is what she was reading for her manga book club that she hosts every month. I haven't really read much manga or much of horror, really, in general, and so it was really fascinating to pick this up. Of course, it is traditional style where you read it backwards, so that's a lot of fun as well. This is a story about ghouls who live in Japan, and they, to live, have to eat other humans, and so there is this whole police force that goes and finds ghouls, tries to get rid of them, because you can't have them living amongst people, because they're going to kill those people. And so it's just a story following the main character and his journey on ghouls in Japan. I'm having a really fun time. The one that I was holding up was the fourth one, and I'm having a really good time reading all of them. They're very interesting, and again, I just like talking about the theme of who gets to live and who gets to die, and that's kind of like here too, because ghouls don't ask to be born like that, they just are. And so it's really fascinating just to learn what other people's perspectives are on ghouls and their life in Japan and in the human world. But I do recommend it. It is a little scary, it is a little graphic, so I probably would recommend this for, I would probably say like 18 or older, probably 16 and older is fine too. It's definitely not a manga that you can read as like a young child if you're trying to get into it. It's not really made for them. Alright, next we have eyeshadow, and for that it's going to be pick a book with your favorite color on the cover, and for me that is Cinderella is Dead, because my favorite color is purple. This is on my December TBR, which I'll have linked so you can check that out, and I'm super excited to get into this. I'm going to try to start going into more of my fiction books blind, because I think that would be a lot of fun to try to learn or just like discover new books. And just from little reviews that I've heard here and there about what the main themes are or what the genre is, and then just kind of go blind into them, so that way I can have a lot more fun and not be spoiled potentially on what is going on in the book. Because sometimes I feel like if you hear plots, even though it doesn't give spoilers, sometimes I feel like it does in a way. And I'm going to try to go into my books more closed-eyed than before, so that way I can have more fun with it, and I can learn something new. And maybe I'll enjoy it more that way. Maybe I won't, because I don't know what's going on. I really can't tell you what is going to happen from that, because I haven't really done it yet. And so I've just kind of been picking books that I'm like, oh, this one was popular, this one sounds good. But now I want to try to really just go into everything and be like, okay, I really don't know what this is about. I know that this is fill-in genre here, and that's all I really need, and that's all I really want. Then we have mascara, and for that, that's going to be pick a long book, and obviously this is going to go to It by Stephen King, because this is a monster of a book. So if you don't know, It is about these children who live in Maine, and the spirit of It has come back as a killer clown named Pennywise, who feeds on the fear of children, or feeds on fear in general, but it's just easier to get it from children because children get scared more easily. And it's just their journey of trying to defeat it and figuring out what the heck is going on, and then also their journey 27 years later. So it is like a two-part book. It was divided into 2 movies that were very popular this year, or these past few years, and so I really want to get into it. I haven't read King before. Like I said before, I haven't really read much horror, and so I feel like this is a really great way to jump into it, especially because I did really enjoy both movies so much. And finally, we have lipstick, and for this, it's going to be pick a book with your favorite kiss in it, and for this, I'm going to give it to The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins. I really didn't know what to give for this category, because I don't really focus on, like, I guess, the kissing part of books. I don't know. Some don't really impact me all that much, which I wish they would more, because I want to get into romance more, just to check out the genre more, because I haven't really read it before. It's just always been a part of what I've read. And I wanted to give to The Hunger Games because I love the relationship of Katniss and Peeta. I think it's so adorable. I think that's so wholesome, and it might have started off for, like, clout in a way to help them both live, but I really do like the relationship that they had. It might have been a little forced, but I still really enjoy it, and it really just makes me happy. Okay, now that that is done, I'm going to go film some videos now that I have this all on. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to do this tag, please let me know. I tag anyone who wants to do it. Don't forget to check out Maya and Steph, who I've mentioned in this video, and their channels will be linked down below. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe, and until next time, keep on gabbing.